right? We're here. No makeup, no Christmas decorations. It's sad. It's a sad, sad day. No. Here's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about being unapologetically you. And I find it very cheesy. And but cheese is joy and cheese works, and so we're gonna go there and we're gonna be cheesy but also acknowledge the fact that we think we're being cheesy. So that is what stops us from being unapologetically you. um That's part of why I'm showing up with no makeup on if you're watching this on the video, because for years I listened to, yeah, one of the things that stopped me from recording or going anywhere was I felt like I had to have makeup on and I had to, at one point in my life, I had to wear false eyelashes all the time. Yes, a couple weeks ago, I had false eyelashes on. You know why? Because I wanted to. And so, like, I want to show up as who I am, and who I am. Well, first of all, we'll talk about the journey that is, but who I am is different depending on the mood I'm in, the time of the month. Is it cold outside? I've got I don't know, hopefully you can't hear it, but I've got a little space heater behind me because it's cold in my house. And, you know, it's not cold everywhere in my house, so why heat up the whole thing? And where we live, it's like cold and then hot, and it's just, I'm not paying that electric bill. So that's who I am unapologetically. And now let's acknowledge the journey this has gone into. Um, just you get surrounded by people that you like or think are cool, and you end up morphing into this. And most everyone I know finds themselves in a situation where they're like, who the hell am I? Because that's when you're completely alone and by yourself. Who is that person? Because a lot of times that person is not who shows up in front of the world. And for a long time, not as a kid, because it was okay as a kid, but for a long time I hid the fact that I loved Disney. Um, I loved the music, I loved the movies, I loved the parks especially. Um, but I was a grown up, and you know, it was fun. It was okay to do when I was teaching little babies dance, but not okay to wear a Disney shirt. And then I slowly found other people who were adults who embraced their love of Disney. And I learned Walt's story and I started to do that. But then, and this is going to be just the easiest, but then I was doing Disney with it being bright. And I mean, if you followed me for a long time, you may have seen some of that where I felt like I needed to be in super bright colors. Well, guess what? I love black and I love dark jewel toned colors. Doesn't mean I can't also love Disney. Sometimes I do like red and black. Sometimes I want a dark jewel tone green. Or, I do love purple. It's my favorite. But, it just, it, who you are, first of all, also changes, your life experiences make you who you are. And, Tony and I were on a walk today, and I was talking about something about someone that we know was like, "Oh, I don't care if people don't like me." And he made the comment, "Everyone cares. We all care. It's about how how do we become who we are, knowing we're going to care what other people think." but being ourselves anyway. Um, and honestly, the one thing that I have in not teaching daily, moving, running this business full time and doing all of these things, I really had to kind of figure out, who am I? Because my identity was so wrapped up in I was a dance teacher. It was who I am. It was my students. It was the dances I choreographed. And honestly, I still find myself like something will happen. I'll see something and I'll think, I'll like snap back into that. And then I'll be like, why do I care? I don't care. I mean, I do care, but I don't care. If that makes, I don't, that probably doesn't make sense because I wasn't very specific. But what you have to do is you have to figure out what you value, what are your passions, and what are your opinions. And it doesn't mean, and I like, what are you passionate about? Um, your passion can change. Something I'm super passionate about is health and fitness. And I used to feel like I needed to talk about working out and show that I was working out, which I still do. However, I have so many voices in my head. Um, I've got my own that's way back here. And then I've got Tony's, I've got my mom's, I've got my sister, I've got, people on the internet that I don't even know, me hypothetically thinking what they're going to say. I have old students, I have their parents, I have my aunts and my uncles, and people who were my friend, and then we stopped being friends who, because are watching, are still watching, or wanting to keep up with me. So I have all of these voices in my head, and what I found out working out, going for a walk, lifting weights, um, it calms that in me. It allows me to pick up something heavy and feel strong and find my voice to come forward. And so I can know what that is. So that is why I'm passionate about health and fitness. Not because of what people think health and fitness is. That's something that I value and passionate about. It's an opinion of mine. Um, I'm passionate, about Disney. I do because I feel that Walt's story is something that is inspiring to me, and to go after my dreams and know that it could be really bad circumstances and you can still climb your way out of that. Um, but I think the hardest part, once you can kind of figure out what that is, and that sometimes takes a while, takes journaling and, navigating through that. Um, but finding that, first of all, sorry, before I go on, who are you when you're by yourself? What do you like to watch? What do you find yourself gravitating towards? What are your hopes and your dreams? And or like, wait, what do you say? Like, man, I wish, dot, dot, dot. What is that? Because somewhere in there, I'm sure, is going to be a value or a passion or even an opinion of yours. The issue is the overcoming the fear of judgment and criticism. And I talked about this a lot last week, but you are the only one that's going to live with your regrets. So you have to let them be just judgmental. People are just judgmental. We all are judgmental, but they're not living your life. Tony and I were on a walk today, and again, we have all these epiphanies. Um, but everything is perspective. I don't want to give the show away, but or the ending away, because we just binged a show, and I'm sure I'll talk about it later. But If you haven't finished watching Ted Lasso, please do so. And I'm sorry if I ruin it. But Tony made a comment at the very one of the very last scenes. He was like, it's all perspective. You think someone's being a jerk or being a jerk because he knew what was going on over here. So, and then someone else was like, jerk. That's as much as I'll say as far as that. But that's what it was. It's perspective because as the audience, we knew he wasn't actually being a jerk, but the person didn't. And so you you have to just remember that people don't have your perspective of your life. Um, so many people look at Tony and I from the outside and think we are relationship goals. We've been through hell and back. And even when we were in the bottom of hell, people thought, oh, wow, emotion just came up. Like, sorry. Um, we were in the bottom of hell and people thought we were, oh, hashtag goals, because why am I gonna put out in the middle of us being through a terrible time in our relationship or life or whatever? Why would I put that out there for any Larry Moe and Curly to see? No one does that. You might hear about it later, but you don't know what's happening when it is unless you're close enough to be trusted with the information. So stop looking at everybody's highlight reel and coming up because that's for me is I always felt like I was being judged, but no one was really saying anything to me. Now, there are times that someone said something to the wrong person and I heard about it. Um, because I hear everything. And so like there is that aspect. But again, they never they never knew what the whole story was from your side. They only know their perspective. So it's one of those things you've got to find something that will help you remember that. And that's why if I go back to the beginning of this podcast, it is a journey. You are always going to be worried about it. Especially if it's a bad habit. I will tell you when Tony had his heart attack and surgery, bad habits of mine crept back in. Food habits I hadn't had in years. Um, and they're ingrained in who you are and you can grow and change, but something about trauma and bad experiences can really revert you back to who those initial instincts. Um, so you have to know you're going to climb up and you're going to fall back down. You're going to climb up and you're going to fall back down. And it might be a bad day, but it's not going to be a bad life. As long as you're willing to get back up. Um, one thing that is hard for me is standing firm in your beliefs and choices. And this is, that uh, woo, I know it's not woo woo. It feels, it's like if you have heard me talk, I hate personal development, but what am I doing right now? I'm trying to help you get better and grow. And that is what personal development is. And so I just feel like sometimes one, like, I'm not trying to be a hypocrite because I'm trying to tell you what I've learned, but it just feels so cliche and like I don't just, I mean, inspirational quotes are great and they hit you hard and they lift you up and all of those things. But I don't ever want to just be something that you hear that one, everybody says, and two, that um I don't know. And maybe if you hear it this way, like me, maybe sometimes you're not ready for it. But like what I'm going to say is you have to stand in your beliefs and your choices. Doesn't mean you always have to argue against people with them or whatever, but you have to know and you have to stand firm in that. Um, and I guess what I wanted to say is like that sounds cheesy to me. Like I said, cheese is joy, but how do you do that? And how I know is, oh, this is gonna make me emotional again. Guys, I was not like these things just kind of pop up. And this is the real cheese and crackers of it all is you have to know your why. And your purpose needs to make you emotional. You have to know, and your why can change. Um, but you have to figure it out. And I'm gonna go real far. And sorry if I took this too far for you, but like why do you stay alive every day? What is that purpose? Because no one is supposed to be just walking this planet. I don't believe that. Whether you are spiritual or whatever you believe in or don't believe in, what are you like? Why are you on this planet? Why are you, you know, why do you stay alive? Why do you get out of bed every day? Maybe you're a mom and you have kids that like depend on you. Maybe you're a dad and honestly, maybe you're a mom or a dad and you have to get up and go to work. And because in order to do that, you have to put food on the table for your kids. I don't have kids of my own. So why do I get up every day? I get up for my husband. I get up because there's something internally inside me that believes I'm here for a reason. And some of those reasons are trying to figure out why. But, um, and that's where I feel like I'm supposed to be adapting and changing. Um, I feel like one of those callings is to be here and talk to you about what I've gone through and what I'm working through. Because I've had, I got to hear other people talk about their life struggles, and it was kind of a someone needs to hear my story, and I don't know who that is, but I'm hoping I get to meet them someday. And, um, but that's one reason I'm here. That's why I get up and work as hard as I do. Um, but it's hard because it's not sexy. It's not. Um, there's a lot of challenges because you start to become who you are. And, Tony and I made a lot of big goals and I'm really nervous about them. But the biggest thing, and I talked about this last week, but the biggest thing I'm worried about is because I'm going to be showing up the way I feel I need to, and people are going to question it because it's not how I've always been. Um, I want to be more bold. I want to be more outspoken. Um, I want to say no more. Um, I want to do it the way I want to do it. Um, doesn't mean I want to be an ass about it, but I just want to I want to start living life on my terms, not other people. Um, but I will say being able to be who you are and be authentic and even that it's such a word that it makes me go, "Mm." But I want to be who I am. And I mean, isn't that what authentic means? I don't want to be fake anymore. And I found, my friend was just messaging me and just like, ugh, why said something about not being a nice person. And I said, no, like, I don't wish ill towards anyone, but we may talk crap about you a little bit because we're not perfect and we don't always understand people's situations. And I will tell you, both of us are going to sit there and we're going to talk about you a little bit. But then we also go, that's who they are. And we move on because we're human. Um, but being able to be who you are and find people and places that are safe to be who you are, um, is so rewarding. You know why? Because it's not tiring to just show up as you are. It's like people who have secrets, and then you have to figure out people who lie. It's, man, this is one thing I got in trouble for more than the thing I did was lying about it. So, like, yeesh. But people who lie, you have to figure out who you told what to. I can't have brain capacity for all of that. But somehow we end up, okay, in front of these people, I'm this person. In front of this person, I'm this person. And then you want to start your own brand. You're like, who the hell am I? I don't know. So, and that's what makes me nervous right now about doing this and showing up and telling my story is I can, like, people as I'm talking start to pop into my head and I go, oh, what are they going to think about that? Oh, what is that person? If they see that, what are they going to think? And you know what? I doubt any of them are even paying attention. So, but being who you are authentically, boldly, unapologetically. First of all, when I see people who I feel are like that, I'm like, oh man, that must be so freeing. Guess what it is? It is, and it's not as exhausting as you would think. Um, so mindset. There's so many people who offer so many different solutions with mindset, but yet I feel like if everybody were taking them or listening to them, the world would be a better place. But like I've heard it so much and when I listen to it, I'm like, oh, okay, but it's kind of true. If some of the things that I said about myself, we have another ad. Um, I heard someone say them to my nieces or nephew or any of my students. I would stop them in their tracks. Or even if I heard any of my students or my nieces and nephew say those things, or my sister, I would like be like, excuse me? No, you're not. Um, if it's a friend that I knew having a hard time, I'd talk them through that. Why am I not doing that to myself? You don't need external validation. I looked for it everywhere, all the time, about my decisions and my choices and everything. But I already knew, like, you're ridiculous. You're a good person. Something I write to myself. Um, I think I mentioned it in the past. I write a letter from my future self every day, and at the end of it, I put, I'm proud of you because it's something I never told myself. I never was proud of myself. Why? The heck not. I'm pretty great. And if you don't think so, then fine. But I have people in my life who think I'm pretty great. So I'm going to be proud of myself. So what I find is you can listen to all these people who have, say your affirmations and all of that. And I think there is some science in behind it. Um, but think about how you're talking to yourself and what advice would you give your best girlfriend or your daughter or, if your dance teacher or a teacher, you're one of your students or your sister, what what would you say to them if they were saying some of the things that you or needed to be coached through this situation? That's helped me more than I am brave, I am bold, I am strong. That those things are great. But if you have the mindset of me, that's not gonna, it might over time, but I haven't been able to keep up with it because I internally start saying those things and then I internally start not believing them. What has made it is maybe say that internally, not believe it, and go, what would you say if that happened to someone else that you care about in your life? And the thing about me is I am so protective that is like, why am I not protective about myself? So that's kind of just that's kind of how I've worked through it. A lot of journaling. I will tell you, 10-minute timer, pen to paper, even if you don't want to, right? I wrote this morning, well, here I am. I don't want to be doing this, but I'm going through the motions. And then I ended up writing a page and a half of stuff in 10 minutes. So you've got to just keep showing up for yourself, even when you have bad days. Resilience is key. And when you keep doing that, when you keep showing up for yourself and do the things you told yourself you were going to do, that's how you're going to build trust in yourself. And then you're going to believe that you can be who you want to be. Um, I just want you to embrace who you are. You're not going to be for everybody. Um, I know I'm not. I know that sometimes I can be a jerk. Um, I can, but usually in those times is when I am actually, again, it's perspective. I'm not being a jerk. I'm standing up for myself. And in my head, I feel like doing that is being a jerk. And it's not. It really is not. So, um, I really would like to know, I'm still working through this. So like know that I'm on my journey. I'd love to be on the journey with you. Um, Hopefully my journey helps you want to do your journey, but that's journey, journey, journey. But I'd love to hear what your experiences are. I'd love to know, you know, do you feel you're authentically yourself? When I think about most people, I feel like they're not. I feel like they have to be in times of crisis and trauma. Um, but most people show up the way they think everybody else wants them to and not who they really are. And my goal this year is to stop doing that. And I know it will always be something ingrained in me. Society kind of has it there, but I'm going to try to start doing it a little less. Um, doesn't mean I always have to tell people they're wrong. Doesn't mean that I don't have empathy for others. Doesn't mean I don't have understanding for others. Um, but I'm gonna live it my way, the way I want to. So, please share all of your experiences with me. I'd love to see if you're on YouTube, the comments. If you're listening to the podcast, I am on Instagram mostly. And I just would like to know, if you're listening to this, come find me and let me know you've heard it. And um, I just want to share short little nuggets with you about what I'm going through and trying to be better. And like I said, I just want I just, I hope someone hears me that needs to. And if it's only the one person, it's fine. But, um, and if that's you, great. I'm glad you heard me. All right. Well, that's 2 weeks that I've gotten emotional while talking and I don't plan it. So, I'm not a huge crier, and so you can probably see it. It starts to come, my eyes start to water, and then I pull back. That happens when there is a feeling that I didn't know was there, and it creeps up on me. It happened at the ballet that I did, Lion Witch in the Wardrobe, with my students. I was trying to tell them how great they were. I was trying to motivate them for the second show. And I was like, ugh, I got so choked up. And I was like, no, 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 no. We are not crying now. We don't have time for this. Um, but it got to me for whatever reason. And I was not expecting it. Um, but anyway, I hope this resonated with you. I hope that you um, are living boldly and unapologetically and just being who you are because I think it's pretty great. So, anyway, keep fighting for your fairy tale, and I'll talk to you next week.